You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Disaster in Cincinnati. No effort yesterday by the Philadelphia Eagles. I understand if you don't have the talent, and the Eagles have a talent problem right now, but the performance I saw yesterday was just no effort, and it was disgraceful. Now joining us, someone he is not disgraceful. He's actually very good at his job, and he also makes you laugh a little bit because I needed to laugh after yesterday's disaster of an Eagles game, and I got it when I read his 10 awards for the game yesterday. And when I first saw it, I said, what the heck is going on? How can you give anyone an award for yesterday? And then I saw the comedy of one, Jimmy Kempski, who joins us right now from Philly Voice. Jimmy, always fun to talk to you. Thanks for a few minutes, and how are you?
Good. How are you? Yeah, pleasure to be on.
Well, I don't know if I'm doing great today with the performance I saw yesterday, but I do appreciate you coming on. You've seen Doug Peterson, to say the least, flip-flop on some of his answers through this season. Last week, he was alluding to rebuilding. Today, when he was on with Angelo Cataldi, he's talking about being 2 games out of a playoff spot. Yesterday, there was effort. Today, some players didn't have effort. I'll ask you the easy question. What the heck is going on with Doug Peterson?
I didn't hear him on Angelo, but because I was still in Cincinnati, and I was actually still in the airport. My flight was delayed when his news conference happened today. And, yeah, I mean, he got asked a bunch of different ways if they didn't give effort. And then on the last question of the press conference, someone, quadrupled back on that question again. I'm sitting in the airport going, come on. You already asked this 3 or 4 times. And then he changed his answer. And he said, I forget the exact quote, but something to the effect of, not everybody gave their best effort. So, yeah, it was kind of surprising to hear him kind of flip-flop on that. But I think he's right. And I don't think that every player really did give their best effort.
Here's the problem, though, Jimmy, and I know that he has to watch the tape, but if he left the field yesterday and was being honest, there's no way you could say that the players, all of them, were giving effort. When you see Zach Ertz just not even try to make a block on Burfict, you see Rodney McLeod just sit in quicksand when Jeremy Hill was scoring a touchdown. How did he leave the field yesterday and not go to the podium saying that, hey, effort was a problem?
I think those kind of plays are magnified on TV. So you and I can see McLeod on that play, and we can see Ertz on that play on the replay. I don't know if he can really see that. I don't know if he can see every play when he's on the field like that. And also, you're kind of in the heat of the battle when you're on the field, and you're not only the head coach, but you're also calling plays. So I kind of get it where the coaches don't really know, they don't really have all the information until they're able to watch the tape themselves. But but I think clearly, you did see some things yesterday where there wasn't great effort. Obviously, the really egregious one was the one that you mentioned with Zach Ertz, who basically just got out of the way of a linebacker who's chasing down your quarterback. And his explanation to Tim McManus of ESPN
was
just an hour ago, I think.
It was a joke.
It was something to the effect of, I knew he was going to run out of bounds and he was going to make it, so I didn't block him. And our full focus is now on beating the Redskins. So,
just one more thing, though, Jimmy. Let's just say if the coach didn't see those 2 plays and you needed to watch the film to say it. Doesn't being down 29-0 on the road to a 3-win team, isn't that enough to know that your team mailed it in for the day? Come on, let's be realistic.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you happen to mention those 2 plays specifically, so that's
kind
of how I was answering that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think certainly, I think he had to have known that he wasn't getting the best effort out of his team as a whole. Yeah, I think that's pretty safe to say. But that's not really something that you can kind of say in a press conference right after a game. Understandably, but yeah, I think there's certainly good reason to think that.
Now, I understand if the wide receivers stink, and I understand if the cornerbacks stink because there's a lack of talent at those positions. I can't come up with the reason for the defensive line because there's talent on that defensive line. You've seen them regress. What's your take on the defensive line?
Yeah, it's weird. I actually had a chance to look at the Bengals passing snaps from yesterday. I took a look at them this morning because Fletcher Cox had said that Andy Dalton was getting the ball out of his hands quickly, and when they were taking shots down the field, they were keeping 7 guys in on protection. I didn't remember it that way watching the game, so I went back and take a look just to kind of cross-check that, and not at all. That's really not what happened at all. I mean, the Bengals certainly had some quick strike plays where Dalton's getting the ball and he's getting it out of his hands quickly, and that's just the play design. They had like 4, 5, 6 of those, but for the most part, they were pretty standard dropbacks, and for the most part, they were only keeping 5 or 6 guys in to protect. In fact, they only kept 7 guys in a total of 3 times yesterday. So that is not in any way a valid excuse by Fletcher Cox or by Doug Peterson. I think I may have heard this incorrectly, but I think he said during his press conference that they got 19 pressures yesterday. No way. I mean,
no chance.
They're lucky if they got 5. So.
The only way that statistic could be valid if they think pressure is just getting out of the 3-point stance. That's the only way.
I mean, so the last few weeks, and I know Fletcher Cox has been getting a lot of extra attention. So all right, fine. So he's getting a lot of double teams, but at some point somebody else has to step up and start making plays. Brandon Graham was having easily his best season of his career. I think that the last few games he's kind of fallen off a little bit. Connor Barwin, frankly, has just not been good on the other side, and it's a big advantage for opposing offenses when they can just stick their left tackle out there and say, all right, you shut down Barwin, and then we'll give extra help elsewhere. And a team like the Bengals with Andrew Whitworth can do that. A team like the Redskins with Trent Williams can do that. A team like the Cowboys with Tyron Smith can do that. It's a major, major advantage when you can just stick that left tackle out there and say, take care of that edge rusher, and we'll figure it out elsewhere. So that's a big, big negative. And then Benny Logan has been, okay. But, the last 3 games, they have 1 sack, and it was for 0 yards. It's just totally unacceptable for what is supposed to be the quote-unquote strength of the team.
And I understand if you're playing Aaron Rodgers and you have a bad game, even though the Packers are not having this sensational year, you're playing the Bengals without A.J. Green, without Giovanni Bernard, and Andy Dalton at quarterback. That's how bad it was. And I hate to say, the team quit on the coach, but I think it's a fair question. Do you think the team quit on the coach?
I don't know if I would say they quit, quote-unquote, on the coach. I think they like the coach. So I don't think it's that, that they quit on him. I think they're just – I think he may – and I don't know this. I mean, this is complete – not even a guess, but a possibility is that they're just uninterested because they're losing. I mean, they're 2-7 in their last 9 games. And when you get in these funks and you get in these losing streaks, you can really kind of see the energy in the locker room kind of change. It's very different from when they were 3-0 and now. I mean, it's a pretty big difference. So yeah, I think that kind of affects the play on the field. I don't know if they're quitting per se or what it is, but certainly they're not playing anywhere near the level that they were earlier in the season.
Jimmy Kempski with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show from Philly Voice. I am the ringleader of Nelson Aguilar bashing. I just can't stand him, and I've went on so many rants. But really, in the last few weeks, he's actually taken a step back in my disdain for Eagles wide receivers. Because when I look at Dorial Green-Beckham, I just can't stand his attitude, Jimmy. This is someone, I just see such a sense of entitlement. It's like he thinks he has statistics of Jerry Rice and accolades of Jerry Rice for the way that he talks. Just, you know Dorial Green-Beckham a whole lot better than I do. Just how about the attitude of Dorial Green-Beckham? Because I can't stand the guy, to be honest with you.
What did he say that rubbed you the wrong way?
Well, going back to what he said a few weeks ago about Carson Wentz, and it just seems like that's a guy.
Oh, he didn't get any targets or something like that.
And how he's saying, I understand how to play with the young quarterback. You've only been in the league for 2 years. And then also yesterday, there was one time he celebrated when the team was down after making a catch. And then there was another time where he caught the football, and you saw he was just about to celebrate after making a first down, and he said, I'm not going to do that. His attitude just annoys me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not high on him as a player. From what I've seen of him in the locker room, I think his teammates like him. I don't think there's any kind of problem as far as him being, like a bad guy, which was a concern, from his, from some things that happened with him in college, and why he fell into the second round when he's a 6'5", 240-pound guy who can run a 4.4. Those guys don't really exist all that often. So, there's got to be some other issue on why he's not performing the way he is. And what I see is a guy who's 6'5", but plays like he's 5'6". I mean, the really signature play for him this year, for me, was in the Lions game when he had a little shrimpy corner, Nevin Lawson, 5'9" guy, and they ran a fade route to him, and Lawson out-muscled him. And the pass was incomplete. And in an ensuing press conference, Frank Reich said bluntly, that's a play that's got to be a touchdown 95% of the time. And it's just not a play that you would expect a guy that's 6'5" and his size to not be able to make. And the throw was, okay. It was an okay throw. It wasn't high and away from the corner, but it's certainly a pass that was there. And it's a play that the bigger guy should typically win, and he just didn't win it. And that's been kind of what I've seen from him so far.
As Frank Wycheck told me when they made the trade, Dorial Green-Beckham, he looks like Tarzan, but he plays like Jane. That's what Frank Wycheck had to tell me when I asked him for his analysis when they made the trade with the Tennessee Titans. All right, let's get to Aguilar. We know how low our standards are for him, 4 receptions for 23 yards, and some people are saying that's a good game. I guess for his standards, that's a good game. But what did you see out of Aguilar yesterday?
He lined up correctly all game, which was awesome.
Let's give him a pat on the back, why don't we?
Gold star. So yeah, he was 6, I think you're right, and he matched his career high in receptions in a game at 4, and in the same game, Paul Turner had 6 catches for 80 yards, 2 more catches and like 20 more yards than Aguilar's ever had in a game. And he's clearly, he's a bust. Clearly, he's a first-round bust at this point. Bad season his rookie year. We already know what he is. So, but in terms of was he better yesterday? Sure, but we're talking about an extremely low bar there, obviously.
I love that you bring up Paul Turner because he was the only positive out of that game yesterday. And I've been very clear. I don't think Paul Turner is going to be this transcendent wide receiver. He could be a fun little success story. I don't think he's going to be a great wide receiver. After what I saw, though, yesterday, the only thing I could think of is why did it take this team with their lack of talent at the wide receiver position so long to make the move, Jimmy? You cover the team. Break it down for me.
Yeah, it's because they think he's a slot player. Well, there's a couple reasons. They think he's a slot receiver, and they already have a slot receiver, obviously, in Jordan Matthews. So for him to come up and actually get on the field, it would mean that Jordan Matthews isn't playing. So, it made sense for him to be up and getting a lot of playing time with Jordan Matthews out this week. But also, just in terms of what he is in terms of skill set, he's short and isn't run all that fast. And you have a combination of those two things, and scouts and people like that typically don't. You don't get a lot of clout in the NFL when you're short and you don't run all that fast. But the one thing you can do that none of the other Eagles receivers can is catch the football. So, right off the bat, in my opinion, he's already better than pretty much everyone, other than probably Jordan Matthews. I'd take over Paul Turner, but in my view, he's the second best receiver on the team.
Jimmy Kempski with us. All right, let's get to the quarterback. I don't like to be too critical of the quarterback. I think he's going to be pretty darn good, and there's a lack of talent around him. That is clear, and it's tough when you're that young and being asked to do that much to consistently play well. The one concern, though, I have is going down the middle of the field. He throws the ball very high. What do you see out of Carson Wentz when he does that, and how does he try to improve that?
Yeah, he had a bad game, if we're going to be honest.
Yep.
I think he's had a good season so far. But, yeah, that was by far his worst game of the season, in my view. And you're right. When he's inaccurate, he tends to be high. And we saw that in minicamp. We saw it in OTAs. We saw it in training camp. We saw it in the preseason. And we didn't really see it early in the regular season. It was pretty much dead on accurate early in the during that 3-0 start and maybe a little bit after that. But then you're right. He started sailing those passes a little bit, and Doug kind of said it was mechanics. Carson just kind of says they're just bad throws. I kind of lean toward Doug a little bit on that one. I don't really have any analysis on what exactly is wrong with his mechanics. I'm sure that'll come out at some point. But certainly the one concern with him is that he does tend to sail passes, and it's kind of like like a bizarro Donovan McNabb who kind of used to throw him into the dirt. I've written that if if they had a baby, if Carson Wentz and Donovan McNabb had a baby, that kid would be like super accurate. It wouldn't be high or low; it'd just be right on the money. But yeah, it in my view, it's his worst game by far. And you're right that it probably is the biggest concern is his accuracy high. And when you throw high and you miss, you're going to have safeties lurking in the back there, and that's when you have interceptions. At least when Donovan McNabb was inaccurate and they're going into the dirt, they're incompletions, whereas these can be interceptions going the other way.
These receivers are not good enough to win the one-on-one battles. We know that. And I've been saying this for weeks. They need to have more of a commitment to running the football. And I get it. You're down yesterday. You're going to throw the football. But to throw it 60 times, that seems a little bit too much to me, Jimmy. Just is the coach putting him in a good spot? I guess that's my question, because we saw against Green Bay, Wendell Small would have some success, and they don't run him for the rest of the game. And then yesterday, it looks like they had no interest of running the football against a pretty bad run defense, to say the least.
Yeah, what were they, 27th, I think, heading into that game?
Something like that.
Something like that. So I think they wanted to go into that game and run the ball. I think they want to go into every game and run the ball, but they just get away from it, especially lately when they've been getting down. Obviously, they got down against the Seahawks. They got down early against the Packers. They got down early and very quickly again this week against the Bengals. So when you get behind, you're going to throw the ball a lot more, and that's why you see those stats. When teams run the ball X number of times, they have some kind of great record, and it's usually kind of the other way around. They're running the ball because they have the lead, not because they're not because they're just hammering the run. The Eagles, when they did try to run the ball yesterday, it really just wasn't there. I think Jason Kelsey kind of got moved around a little bit in the run game, and Wendell Smallwood. I think there were some opportunities for him to make a few plays, and he didn't make them. So, yeah, I mean, certainly you want to see them run the ball, and that's when they've been their most successful, the Eagles this year, is when they have been able to run the ball effectively. But, it just wasn't there. And then not only that, they have the big lead. So it can't really kill them for that, but certainly the 19? Like 60 passes to 19 rushes. I mean, that is obviously a run-to-pass ratio that is way, way, way out of whack.
Jimmy, last one for Jimmy Kempski, who joins us right now. 4 games left, home against Washington, on the road in Baltimore, and then you get the Giants and the Cowboys at home at Lincoln Financial Field. How many games do the Eagles win to wrap up this season?
Well, I'm just happy they don't have any more flights. So, everything's driving now. But I don't know. I think they win one more, maybe. I think they're going to finish 6-10.
Okay, that's where a lot of people had them in the beginning of the season. I just guess if you're an Eagles fan, you wish they didn't tease you in the beginning of the year. But Jimmy Kempski, great job as always. Reach you every day. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, thanks so much. There's Jimmy Kempski joining us. Really, that guy knows his football, and he knows how to break it down like no other. Some of the statistics and some of the thought process that he has, the one with McNabb and Wentz having a baby, that had me cracking up. Bad effort yesterday. Overall, brutal, abysmal performance. It's as bad as it gets. Not sugarcoating it. This is a team that the next 4 games, and like I was saying, you kind of wish they didn't give you that 3-0 start. But this is a team, the next 4 games, where they need to at least show up. If they don't win the next 4 games, okay. At least show me you care. Because yesterday, they didn't care. Players may not like when you say that, but that's the reality of the situation. They don't care. And I had a friend that actually went to the game yesterday, made the trip. Imagine being that stupid to waste that money and you see that performance. Absolutely disgraceful. 609-919-9200. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. We'll take a quick break. And when we get back, I've told you everyone that you could possibly blame for the Eagles' loss except one man. I'll tell you who that one man is and why he's the number one reason you should be upset with the Philadelphia Eagles. Next.